All right, good evening, and welcome everyone to Studio W, the Buzz, your global radio network. Hey, we circle the same 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, with some of the finest programs you can find anywhere around the world. I see two of my panelists here. All right, let me tune in. Hey, guys. Ann,
Hey,
how
how
are
are
you, dear?
you? I'm good. How are you
Oh,
today?
it's cold. Cold.
Is
It's
it
cold out
snowing?
here.
Is it snowing
Oh,
there?
yes.
Yay, we got a
28
bunch.
degrees here
We still got you beat. It's
and
22
there.
here. 22 here.
22. Well, let me
Yep.
double check. Let me double check. And welcome to the set, Mad Mike. Mad Mike, you have no complaints with the weather. You out there in sunny California. Oh my God. This is when I miss California. I'm gonna be honest with you. Okay, let's see. Right
Did
here
you want to
in
know the temperature where I'm at, William? You seem interested in everyone else's
no,
temperature.
I
You don't
don't.
want to know
No,
mine?
no, I
Oh,
don't want
poor
you. I don't.
baby.
Oh wow. Okay.
I know what the temperature is here. I don't want to hear a word, Mike. I don't want to hear a word. Oh my goodness. Yep, it's about
Sun is
67,
shining.
70
The
degrees
birds
here.
are chirping.
Yeah, that's just me, Mike. That's just me.
Uh,
You
I
didn't
can't
have to
help
do
myself.
that.
go ahead, rub it in, Mike. Rub it in.
Yeah, you
Oh,
didn't
that's
have to
okay.
do that.
I
That
was
was just me.
I received a text from another one of my friends out in and he's in Highland, California, not too far from where
Hmm.
I lived, right? And he was saying, hey, he was listening to the gospel show. Guys, you know, we play gospel music each and every Sunday. So if you love gospel music, Mike, thanks you so much for tuning into the program today, too. You were there, Bruce J was there. Appreciate that.
Hmm.
Um, so anyway, he was saying, "Hey, the music is sounding good. How are you?" I said, "I'm okay, except for it's snowing and it was 28 degrees." And he said, "Oh, well, don't you miss Southern California?" I said, "Okay, all right. Here we go again. Here we go again." Yep. Man.
Right.
And for the next couple of days, it's supposed to snow
Mm.
for the next couple of days. We're supposed to get up to a foot of snow, and nobody's driving. Okay. I don't have
Yep.
snow tires on my car.
Yep.
So going in, and you freezing a little bit. I mean, freezing up on us. Okay, can barely hear you.
Mm.
Okay.
Little glee.
Yeah. Okay. You might want to try logging out and
Last
logging
couple of
back in to
days
see
it's
if that
been
works.
snowing.
Last couple of days, you're breaking
You
up.
talking to me? Oh, me? Okay. All right. Well,
Yeah.
I'll log out, see if I can get back in.
No, no. Okay. Now stay right there for a second. Let's see if it works.
Well,
Oh,
she's
okay.
gonna
Yeah.
just yeah.
So while we're waiting on Ann, Mike, so what have you been doing lately? I know you do a lot of gigs around Southern California. Okay. Did you have any parties that you had to uh, do this week, this past week?
I did a wonderful one yesterday for the Moose Lodge in Mentone, and I know you know where Mentone is, but it's not too far from San
Right.
Bernardino. And that's the moose that burnt down last January because of the high
I
winds.
remember.
Edison was turning the power off, and then they turn it back on, then they turn it off again. Well, somewhere along the way, the old wiring in that building, something snapped and it lit the building on fire. So that whole Moose Lodge burnt down. So they've been trying to recover. So they've got this beautiful outdoor park that's part of their land, and they have a makeshift building out there that they turned into quite a nice little bar arrangement so people could still come out on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, or today, Sunday for the games. So they have limited operation where people are coming in. So they did a big fundraiser / informational thing yesterday. So I started playing music and doing sound work for them at 2, and then we went till about 6 or 7 in the evening. But in the middle of the day, about 4 o'clock, the commander, a very nice lady named Jenny, did a whole presentation on here's the plans for the new building. This is where our deficits lie. We had to destroy this concrete slab because it wouldn't certify. So she just went through the whole thing. So all the Moose members out there that were able to show up, which there was probably, I'm going to say at least 100 there yesterday. So the weather, sorry again for the weather. I don't mean to be mean here. Not this time around anyway. But the weather the weather was beautiful, and a lot of people came out, and of course the Moose is very family oriented, and lots of kids playing in the park area, and they have a whole jungle gym set up there for the kids to play on while the adults chit chat, and they have park benches out there, and they have cover, and they brought out smokers and cooked a lot of great ribs and chicken, and so we all ate really well, and then we all donated to the building fund, of course, which is one of the reasons why we did it. So they're continuing to do fundraisers out there, which I am now their designated DJ / sound guy / moderator of ceremonies, or whatever you want to call me. So because I'm not charging them, because it's a fundraiser, and I don't charge for things like that. I give it away. So
that's a blessing. That's very kind.
So that was yesterday.
Too much fun. Yeah,
I do. I meet really good people. I make really good friends, and I'm just happy to be out there socially, and especially with my brother dying recently.
I'm sorry to hear that. I'm so sorry.
It helps.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. My condolences. How old was he?
Yeah, as a matter
he was, I believe, 73. He's 4 years older than me. So.
Oh my gosh.
Kind of unexpected. He had some medical problems, but none of them were truly life-threatening. But I think he hit kind of the trifecta of where three of his issues collided, and his heart just couldn't take it, and so lost him.
Yeah.
Condolences to you and your family.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I was telling Mike last week. Mike wasn't on. You weren't on, and what I did last week's Boomerang, I dedicated it to Mike's brother, Warren Ward. Great guy, just a great guy. Terrific sense of humor, and he's also a client of mine. And we would talk business maybe 15 minutes or so, and then the next hour we just talk about life. Funny.
Wow.
True story. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm so sorry that you all lost somebody you loved. All the both of you. So sorry. Pray the Lord comforts you as only He can.
And I was telling Mike, he died that Sunday, and I had just spoken to him that Saturday, and he was in good spirits. And and we were supposed to meet up again that following Monday. And when Mike sent me a text message that Warren just passed, the irony, I had texted a gentleman who was one of our special guests. We had Peter Ratcliffe on, and we had Warren Gibbs. And keep in mind, Mike's brother's name is Warren. And so I was texting Warren, and then almost immediately I get a text back, Warren just passed. I said, wait a minute, hold it.
Oh my, yeah, that was a little confusing, yeah.
Oops.
Yeah.
Wow. Absolutely incredible. So he's going to be missed, just like I said, a great guy, great friend, just a great friend, and so I was shocked, and it set me back for a little bit. Brother Warren, we're going to miss you, brother. Going to miss you. So anyway, moving right along, let's talk about something a little more cheerful. And that was your show yesterday, Ann. You had PJ on.
Finally got to have him on. He is quite an awesome young man. Wow, I was so impressed. Very impressed.
Yeah. And Mike, you would love this kid. 18 years old. He's a student at NYU, arts major. 18 years old. This kid is wise beyond his years about life. He seems to be well grounded. Great parents. That's always been supportive, and he gives all his credit to his parents and to God.
Nice.
For his
Amen.
Wonderful. I tell you what, I'm going to give you a little sample about that. And he did something special for me yesterday also that I'm going to share with you. I've already shared it with Ann, but give you a little sample of what this kid is all about. Check this out.
Man, it feels good to be back with you guys.
It always feels good to be with y'all.
Shoot, it feels good to be more mobile and colored. Colored? What do you mean? I'm talking about the technical upgrade, y'all.
Yeah, I wouldn't change this for the world.
Yup. Cam, Jenny, and Antonio are an inseparable trio. Did Thanos snap his fingers? I'm lost. Man, she was out of here faster than Chris Brown died and stomped the yard. If you don't let that rest. Sorry.
You know you like that. You know you like that.
Perry Pen Productions. That's PJ.
Yes, he is awesome. He's very talented, very well spoken, just a very intelligent kid. Brilliant.
And, you know, I try to have him on as many platforms as possible. And
Right.
I'm going to do, before we get into a more serious topic, Mike and I shared this with you yesterday, but this is something that he did for Studio W. Check this out.
Awesome.
Hey, did you guys hear that sound?
What sound?
The buzz.
My bad, that was probably from my headphones. Just listening to the buzz while I work.
Seems like those guys like it too.
That explains what I heard earlier.
Now that's nice. That's a keeper. That's a keeper.
I didn't find out about this until after your show yesterday.
Oh, that was so sweet of him.
I would have played it during your show, but I just got it from him. Yeah, pretty cool cat. Yes. So anyway, let's get into
commercial to keep. We're gonna play that all the time. That's a nice ad right there. I like it.
I've sent it out on most of my media platforms. I'm gonna continue to do that. And I'm gonna support him any way I can. So anyway, guys, let's talk about what's going on. And I sent out a on my post. I was talking about what's going on in Minnesota, and it's so heartbreaking. And we're going to talk about this and unravel it, because these are things that needs to be discussed. Because even though it's in Minnesota, I'm in Virginia, Mike's in California, and you're in Arkansas. But what's happening in Minnesota, it affects all of us. It affects all of us, because I heard about there are marches and protests even in California and many places around. And so it doesn't matter whether you are Democrat or Republican, independent. It really doesn't matter, because we're talking about humanity, basic humanity. And so what I'm going to do, I'm going to play a few clips, and we're going to comment on those. And let's talk about it. Because a lot of people, believe it or not, they simply go to work, come home, put the kids to bed, watch TV, and go to bed. And they really aren't aware of other things that goes on. So let's play this, and then we'll dissect it, all right?
All right.
All right, let's see this.
By ICE agents in his family's driveway after getting home from preschool on Tuesday. Now, what exactly led up to this moment is in dispute tonight. Here's what the Department of Homeland Security is saying, that they were targeting the boy's father, who is from Ecuador. But when ICE agents approached them in the driveway, DHS says the dad took off and, quote, fled on foot, abandoning his child. The father was eventually apprehended, and both were taken into custody together, the father and the son. The school district released a video of that moment showing the chaotic scene that many people in Minneapolis say has become all too familiar since those 3,000 federal immigration agents have arrived in their city.
Where's your humanity? Where's your humanity? That's a kid. That is a child.
It's a story that even the vice president acknowledged today sounded terrible when he first heard it. But while he was in Minneapolis on the ground today, J.D. Vance argued that after learning more about what happened in the video that you saw, He says the child's detention was justified.
I see this story, and I'm a father of a 5-year-old, actually, a 5-year-old little boy, and I think to myself, oh my God, this is terrible. How did we arrest a 5-year-old? Well, I do a little bit more follow-up research. And what I find is that the 5-year-old was not arrested, that his dad was an illegal alien. And then when they went to arrest his illegal alien father, the father ran. So the story is that ICE detained a 5-year-old. Well, what are they supposed to do? Are they supposed to let a 5-year-old child freeze to death? Are they not supposed to arrest an illegal alien in the United States?
Now, attorneys for the family are arguing tonight that they have an active case, an active asylum case, and therefore they are in the country legally. They also say the dad here has no criminal record. And what we do know also from school district officials, as we're still trying to learn more about this, is that Liam is one of 4 of their students who have been detained by ICE in the last few weeks. The school board chair who witnessed Liam's detention today rejected how the vice president justified what happened.
I heard, "What are you doing? Don't take the child." His mom, like, there are people here that can take him. There was another adult who lived in the home that was there saying, "I will take the child. I will take the child." Somebody else was yelling. They saw that I was there and said, "School is here. They can take the child. You don't have to take them." And there was ample opportunity to be able to safely hand that child off to adults. And mom was there. She saw out the window, and dad was yelling, "Please do not open the door. Don't open the door."
We know Liam and his father are being held at an ICE facility in Texas this evening. And this comes as the Justice Department also announced today that they have arrested the 3 people who interrupted a church service in St. Paul on Sunday. They were there protesting a pastor who appears to be a top ICE official in the Twin Cities. And the Department of Homeland Security shared the images of all the protesters who were arrested. And then the White House account, though, shared one that stood out. That's because it's a fake version of one of those photos. You can look at them side by side here. The White House implicitly confirmed to CNN that it did, in fact, alter this photo and knowingly posted it because officials directed us when we asked about the tweet to another post from a spokesperson that says, "Enforcement of the law will continue. The memes will continue. Thank you for your attention to this matter." That side by side tonight, and also as we were trying to learn more, is what leads us to our lead source tonight, the Democratic Senator from Minnesota, Tina Smith, who's been very outspoken about all of this. And so, Senator, it's great to have you back here, given obviously what's been happening in your home state these last few weeks. I want to start, though, this 5-year-old who's now in ICE custody with his father tonight. What, if anything, have you heard about what happened here?
Well, I spoke with the attorney for this family first thing this morning. And of course, what they said is what the eyewitnesses there at the scene said, which is that there were adults there that were prepared to take this child. It's also really important to understand that this father, the man, is not illegal. He is actively seeking asylum in this country. He is here legally. So we have yet another example of somebody who is here in the United States legally, being detained and being shipped off to Texas, this time with his 5-year-old child. And I was so struck by what the superintendent of the Columbia Heights School District, who has watched 4 of her students just in the last weeks, children, be detained. And she said, "We have whistles and they have guns." And the heartbreaking message there that these aggressive and sometimes violent ICE agents are just trampling over people's rights. And here we have this 5-year-old now in detention in Texas for absolutely no reason.
And you know what the Department of Homeland Security is arguing is, and this is part of their statement, we read part of it earlier in the introduction, but they said our officers made multiple attempts to get the mother who was inside the house to take custody of her child. They say officers even assured her they would not take her into custody. She refused to accept custody, and the father told officers he wanted the child to remain with him. Do you trust the version of what happened that is coming from the Department of Homeland Security tonight?
It's very hard to trust anything they say when they are
I'm gonna stop you right there.
routinely.
Okay. There's a lot to unpack there. A lot to unpack. Uh, and number one, I know there's a lot of people that say that uh, we need to get the violent criminals off the streets. I agree. And if someone is here illegally, and they are violent, then they needs to be deported. But every account that I've heard about, both parents are here legally. Both parents. They're going through the asylum process. They're keeping up with their court dates. Um, and there were people on the scene there. People said, well, and just like this vice president of ours says, well, the father wanted him to go with them. What he's supposed to do? There were people there to take that child. There were people there. You had people from the school. You had another someone who lived in that house said, look, I'll take him. Do not take this child. What do you make of all of this? And what are the legal implications here, Ann?
Well, William, I'm just gonna be real honest. The legal implications are up for grabs. We are living in a period of lawlessness, and that's just being frank and honest. What happened shouldn't have legally happened, but illegally, we are basically turning into 1930s, 40s Germany, just asking people to show documentation that they're American citizens, like we're the Gestapo, and rounding up people that we don't like who aren't white. Basically, this man and this child legally shouldn't have been harassed, shouldn't have been detained. This man shouldn't have had to yell to his wife not to open the door because he was afraid of what was going to happen to her that was happening to him and his son. Um, it's it's all scary. It's horrific. Um, it's surreal because we never thought that things like that would happen here in this place. But over and over again, we keep seeing, what we used to rely on as the rule of law be trampled upon. There is at this point a very thin line of what remains of the law. Very thin line. You've got now the White House spreading what they love to say, fake news. I mean, how do you, as the government, post what you're now calling a meme? You didn't say it was a meme when you posted it. You made it seem like this woman was basically totally in fear for her life or whatever, crying, whatever the case may be. In other words, you wanted to show everybody that we can do this to her, we can do this to you, and make it seem like she was crumbling in fear, that she was terrified. I imagine that on the inside she is afraid or was afraid, because right now we're at a place where we don't know what's going to happen. People are being shot in their cars in the head for absolutely nothing. Other people are saying the killing was justified. Little kids are being, little kids who are born here, whose parents are here legally, are being taken into ICE custody, removed from their own state, and taken hundreds of miles away from Minnesota to Texas. You have a country that quite literally is on the brink of civil war, and that's not me that's saying this. These there are experts out there who actually have gained this. I was reading an article about some experts who have been running different scenarios about what could ever bring the United States to civil war. We have basically completed almost to the letter something that they gained. What could happen to bring us to the brink of civil war? And our enemies are loving it. And not only that, at the same time, we, the country that's supposed to be about freedom, the country that's supposed to be about hopefully helping them to make the world a better place, we're making the entire world come ever closer to World War III. And that's not over exaggeration. That's not hallucination. It's certainly not delusion. It's a fact. And I'm not the only one that's looking at what's going on in the world and believing that this is where we are in this moment in time. There are people who with way more degrees than I have who've actually studied these types of things, that this is their job to look for these types of, I don't know what to call them, markers, so to speak, these types of red flags, when a society is in decline, when, if I'm not mistaken, our world is close to the brink of nuclear annihilation. I believe there's a whole clock that's been around since before I was born that tells you, the doomsday clock, that tells you how close we are to nuclear war. All these people, not just me, are looking at where we are right now and seeing nothing but danger signs. So it it boggles my mind that there are still people on this planet, still people in this country today who think, oh, this, we're just living in a bed of roses, everything's perfect. You can only conclude that this is what they wanted. There's no, if this is your idea of America being great again, then there's something wrong with you, in my opinion. I don't understand it. But anyway, back to you, William.
Right. Yeah, Mike. The parents were here legally. I know you make the argument that, or you ask sometimes, were they legal? Yes, they were legally here. And
have you seen all the
I'm gonna
paperwork?
say this. No, I get my information
okay.
from the same thing.
Oh yeah, line CNN. Go ahead.
Women, from many sources, they've said, they've reported that the child was here and the parents were here legally. Now, where did they get that from? If you are going to your asylum hearings, you're going through the right, there is a process that you have to go through in order to become a citizen in the United States. Everyone except for the Native Americans are what do you call them? Immigrants anyway.
Well, you came here by force or by choice. Yes, sir.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly. But the point is that all indications, now, if they weren't here legally, then guess what? This administration will be the first to point it out. If they were illegal, they would point it out. But they have not. So, no, I haven't seen the paperwork. No one has seen, nobody here has seen the paperwork, but someone has. They have the means of getting the proper documentation. But aside from that, let's say they weren't here legally. You don't deport, you don't arrest a child and move him from his home in Minnesota to Texas. You are causing something that could follow that child for the rest of his life. You are traumatizing a 5-year-old child. And that's not the only time they've done that.
No.
So, and they've done it in courtrooms where people are there legally. Go after the bad guys. That's what they said they were going to do. But that racist Stephen Miller said he has set a quota. Or we're going to go at 3,000 a day. 3,000 a day. And so what happens? He's not meeting his numbers, so they're arresting anybody. So I don't care if the parents weren't here legally, you do not do that to a child. You don't do it. So whatever you like to say, Mike.
You don't know the full story. The full story has not come out. You're going to find out that this person was not here properly, even though all the left-wing media says he was here going through the process. He more than likely was not. You don't think that these agents and these agencies do their homework and look at everything before they show up at somebody's home?
Not at all.
Really?
None
Of these. No, none of them do it correctly.
I don't trust any of them at all. No.
Well, wherein lies the problem? Because they are removing people that don't belong here because they're here improperly. Number two, they did not arrest that child. Number three, why did the father run if he's here legally?
Because he's scared. That's what people do when they're
So
scared.
produce your paperwork that shows you're here legally. Stand your ground. Why did the mother not come? The mother of the child, if they cared so much, why did she not come out and get the child? You cannot. Now, this is from a law enforcement standpoint, and you should probably also know this. You can't just release a child to anybody. You can't. You have to turn them over to Child Protective Services, or you have to take them into protective custody until a legal guardian or parent can be found. So
Agreed.
the father demanded that the child stay with him. So they granted
No, he
his
did
wish.
not.
The child is now with him. So
No,
the
he did
mother
not.
wouldn't come out. The mother wouldn't come out of the house to get her child, who she supposedly loves. The other adults that were there had no right to take custody of that child, and the father demanded that the child stay with him. So they granted him his wish. Wherein lies the problem?
If you know that this
Where
is
you
the
where
child's
you get your
home,
permission?
if you know that this is the child's mother at the door, you're not there to take her into custody. You're not there to bother her. This is her kid. Why not take the person that you came to get and leave?
Establish her relationship with the child.
But that's the thing. You just said that that was the mother. So they
They're
apparently
claiming, but she's going to have to prove that she's the mother.
Oh, well,
That's his
okay, you
home.
have her husband. You have her husband who they've arrested saying, "This is my wife. That's my son. Leave them alone. They came for him." So, all right, he just established that's my wife, that's my son. Why continue to harass the other two individuals who you weren't
Be-
there to get?
because law enforcement has to dig deeper in that. They just can't take some criminal's word that that's his mother. He could have pointed to any female that was standing in the yard there or anybody inside the house and said, "Oh, that's the mom." You, as a proper law enforcement officer, have to establish that connection legally, which
So
means
they were going to take the kid
somebody's going to show some ID. Okay, you're Mrs. So and so. Okay, here's your ID. Okay, you're obviously the mother. Here's the child.
So they were going to take that kid anyway, from
No.
the sound of it.
No. All she had to do is come out and properly identify herself, not just go, "Oh, that's my son."
So that they could
You
take
can't
her
just
into
run around and
custody
claim a
still.
child. You have to show that it's your child. You have to prove that it's your child. You can't just say, "Oh, that's my kid."
I'm not arguing the fact that you don't want to leave children in homes or with people that they're not supposed to be with. I know that William.
Okay.
I don't know about
Good.
you. I think you may have been here with. I said before several times that I used to work for the state when we took children into custody who were being abused and neglected. And one of the things that we did was make sure, to the best of our ability, that the kids went someplace else where they would be safe with people who would take care of them. So I completely understand wanting to leave children in the custody of somebody who can take care of them, who will take care of them. But if these people said that there's a woman at the door at the home where the child is living, who's related to him, we're not here for the kid. We're not here for the woman at the door. We're here for the man that we got. Why are we messing with this child? That's the thing. Now, when we were taking children into custody who've been abused and neglected, of course, we're not going to just give them to a relative, because here in this particular home, at least one child has been abused and neglected. So we need to make sure that nobody else is going to do something that's abusive, going to do something that's going to cause this child to be left alone or otherwise neglected. So yeah, we're going to do background checks on everybody. We're going to make sure that, we're dealing with people who need to have custody of this kid. The difference that I'm seeing here is not that we're taking custody of this child because there was a problem. We're taking custody of this child because he was in the wrong place at the wrong time. He came home from school. You were snatching up his dad. Oh, so we're just gonna snatch you up too because you brown too. I mean, if you know you are at his home and you know that there are adults in the home who are related to him,
They
because
did not know that.
I thought that's what they just said. Didn't they just
No,
say
they did not
that?
know that. The child was with. I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you, but the child
No,
was
it's
with
okay.
the father. The
Mhm.
father and child were together. They show
Mhm.
up at a home. Now I don't know if they already established that it's his home or not. I'm not sure.
So they picked up the
Possibly
wrong
they
person.
did. Well, they showed up at that home believing he was living there, and he wanted to designate the proper handing over of a child to somebody that wasn't established as through due diligence that this person has the right to care and custody and guardianship of this child, whether it's a parent or a guardian. So he just wanted to say, oh, well, one of these people is his mother, just release him here. And law enforcement, you can't do that. You just can't take people's word for stuff. That's why they do investigations. That's what I did. You investigate before you make determination of who's going to take custody of this child. And if you can't establish that because they won't even come out of the home, well, then guess what? We're going to take that child into protective custody. We're not arresting the child. We're going to do care and custody of the child. And then we're arresting you because you don't belong here properly. And if you did belong here properly, number one, you wouldn't run. And number two, you would show us your documentation that shows that you were here properly. That's how things work.
We have a whole white woman who ran who tried to run away in her car and got shot in the head because she was afraid.
Why did she get shot in the head?
Because she was trying to run away from people who were scaring the hell out of her. And I don't blame her. I don't for a minute blame her for being afraid. When she looked at a man, smiled at him, her hand was dangling out of the side of her door. She clearly said, I'm not mad at you. She was no threat. There was nothing about that woman that was threatening. And then you have all these men running up on her in her car and guns drawn, and she gets shot in the head just a few seconds later. It makes absolutely no sense to me. And so now you're telling me if we were talking about, say, in California and Beverly Hills, you went to pick up some random rich white dude and his kid happened to be there, you mean to tell me you're gonna take his child into custody when you came to get him? That would never happen. What would happen is, even if it was just a servant there, you let the servant take the child in the house before you took both of them.
And you're doing hypotheticals. You're doing hypotheticals.
We are talking about a hypothetical.
So let's go back and dissect this shooting. Was she being disruptive all day long, chasing ice, honking her horn, parking her car sideways in the middle of the street?
Wow. Does that mean you get shot for that? Do you think she deserves to get shot for doing those things?
Let's dissect it one piece at a time. Was she being disruptive? Was she parked in the middle of the street? Was she honking her horn, being a pain in the ass for all those officers? The answer is yes. So now let's dissect it a little further. Let's dissect what the officer did. The officer was foolish enough, either because he was a fool or improper training. You never stand in front or behind a running vehicle that can be put into gear and run you over. So shame on him for standing in front of that vehicle. Now let's dissect the next step. She puts her car in reverse and then puts it in forward while he's standing in front of the vehicle. She has a 4,000-pound weapon. Don't tell me she was doing nothing. She moved that vehicle forward towards that officer and he took appropriate action. She died at her own hand because she failed to, let's hang on, I'll dissect it a little further. She was told to stop. She was told to stop. She was told to get out of the car by bona fide law enforcement agencies. Did she do that? No, she did not. She disobeyed. She committed a number of felonies and then continued to put her car in drive and move forward towards an officer that was standing in front of her. So she got shot because of her own foolishness. She's dead because of herself. Don't tell me she was doing nothing, minding her own business, and she had no intentions except she knew she was going to leave. She was told not to leave, and she was told to get out of the car by bona fide law enforcement. Do you think it's appropriate that citizens, regardless of their color, can just disobey bona fide law enforcement? No, you cannot do that. She caused her own death. She's responsible for her own death, and she was using a 4,000-pound weapon against that officer. Don't tell me how innocent she is.
She turned the wheel away from the officer, and she was driving forward.
And he could see the wheels. and he could see the wheels.
And he'd
He
been
could see
hit
the
by a car
wheels.
before from doing the same thing, Mike. He got not only hit by a car, but
He got
dragged
dragged.
by a car because he did the same thing. This was a person who has no respect for anybody. He's a bully. He should not have a license to do anything, and he certainly shouldn't have a gun. He should be in a prison. And I don't care about any of
Disagree.
that. Well, I take it back. It's not that I don't care. When you add up all the little things that you just said, none of that equals the death penalty. None of that equals the death penalty. And it certainly doesn't equal the death penalty without a jury of your peers finding you guilty first.
Officers have to make
let
split-second
me just say
decisions.
this.
Hold on. I'm having a discussion with Ann here. The Supreme Court has said and stated that police officers cannot be held to the finite decision, and that they have to make split-second decisions based on what they appear is their threat. He believed that he was being threatened by a 4,000-pound vehicle because he was actually struck by that vehicle. He could not see which way the tires were turning at the time that she was turning the tires. He had perceived threat that he was about to die in front of a vehicle. So don't tell me she's all super innocent. And again, I wouldn't have been standing in front of that vehicle. So part of the responsibility, at least a little bit of it's on his, but she could have turned the car off. She could have got out, and she could have complied with legal, lawful orders. And she did not. She caused her own death.
And when people are afraid, you don't expect them to comply necessarily with legal lawful orders, because fear makes people do different things, like run. There's this thing called a flight or fight
Fight or flight.
Response in every one of us. And she chose to run. A lot of people choose to run from people with guns, especially when they don't have weapons at all and they know what the result will be. We've seen it over and over and over again. And now for the third time in Minneapolis, we've seen somebody who was unarmed get killed by law enforcement. And 3 times in 5 years. As a matter of fact, twice in 1 month right now. So you can't tell me that there isn't a credible reason for people of any color now that we're living in Gestapo America to be afraid of law enforcement.
I have an answer for you. So let's go back to this lady, and we'll talk to the other people that got shot and killed. So from now on, all you have to claim in court is, I was in fear of my life, so I ran over the officer.
That's what police officers do all the time. All you have to
claim from now on is, I was afraid, and so I shot the officer and killed him. So now the defense for anybody that wants to be criminal, all they have to do in court is say, well, I was in fear. Therefore, I'm justified in doing what I did.
Exactly. Same as the cops who say all the time, I was in fear for my life. Nobody had a weapon, but I was in fear for my life. We look at the video. Nobody had a knife or a gun. All they were doing were running. All they were doing was walking away. All the man was doing with his hands up in the air was walking down the interstate back to his car. Oh, look at that big fella. He gets shot by a white cop. For what reason? All a man is doing is running in his neighborhood for exercise, and some ex-cops run him down and kill him. That was Ahmaud Arbery, by the way. All the man was doing, supposedly had some counterfeit bills and went into a store in Minneapolis and tried to use them. Even if he did commit that crime, it is not the death penalty worthy. But you have police officers with their feet, or rather knees, on his neck until he cannot breathe. Yes, Mike, you can say I was in fear of my life and I ran, because if you don't, you die.
Would that lady, if she got out of her car, would she be dead?
You know what, Mike?
It's
a good chance she would be, because she wasn't just a lady. She was a gay white woman, and we don't like them either, do we? And I think that had a lot to do with what was going on. She wasn't just a regular blonde hair, blue-eyed white woman. No, it was her and her wife who was there, who's obviously a lot more aggressive than the lady behind the car. She was challenging the police officer because he was doing stuff I don't even know why he was out there filming their car, walking around it, and she was filming him film the car. She gets in the car. She's concerned. She tells her wife, drive off. The woman's afraid because she's got people yelling at her and running at her with a gun. And of course, she drives off. But she wasn't the threat here. that the people who came into her city creating all this chaos, creating a problem where there was none, and then all of a sudden everybody else who's protesting against it, in whatever way, if she was protesting, if she wasn't, these were people who were standing up under their First Amendment rights, protesting. They have the right to peacefully do that. If she did park her car and block them from whatever reason, that was her right to peacefully protest. She wasn't using her gun. I mean, her car is a gun.
She committed a crime. That's a
She
crime.
didn't commit a crime. I'm sorry.
That's a crime.
I don't see a crime.
Can I go park my car in the middle of the road sideways?
That's a
not a crime?
citation. That's not a crime. That's a citation. You
still
will
a
get
crime.
a ticket for that. No, that's not a crime. Means you go to jail. A ticket, that's a civil matter. It's not a crime. Just like coming to this country undocumented, that is not a crime. It is a civil matter. You do
It's
not
still
go to
improper.
prison for that. It may
It's
be
still
improper, but
improper.
it is not illegal. There's a difference between illegality and civility.
You're
Doing something
splitting
that
hairs.
is a civil problem is totally different from doing something that is a criminal matter. And I wish we could get that straight so we can stop saying that these people are illegal, because you're basically putting a black flag over their head saying they're bad people. That's the crime that they committed. This is what the Trump administration means when it says we're getting these criminals out of here. The only crime they've committed is that they're brown and they came to America without the proper paperwork. That is not a crime, people. That's
Then
a
why are they
civil
getting
issue.
deported? If it's such a simple issue and they get a ticket, why are they getting deported?
That's what we
because it's
do.
improper to come to the U.S.
That's what
illegally,
we do, and
improperly.
that is what we do for this civil issue. If you are here and you don't have the right documentation, yes, we deport you, but we don't take away your civil rights and put you in jail in Ecuador. That's not what's supposed to happen.
That's right.
If you're
And I
here
think also
improperly, you're
you're-
getting legally removed.
But Mike, over 70% of the people they are arresting and detaining are here legally. Please understand. The
I'd like
proper
to see. I'd
protocol-
like to see the documentation on that. I think that's BS.
Well, guess what? It's been reported over all major networks.
CNN said so. Okay.
Even Homeland. Women, hold it. Let me. I was quiet for a long time. Please let me speak.
You were.
Even Homeland Security's numbers are saying that most of them are here legally. As a matter of fact, Chrissy Nome, God, she should be in jail. You know, Greg.
All
that
of them
he's
should
a-
be
a
in
vote.
jail.
He should be in jail. Cash Patel, he should be in jail. All right. Stephen Miller, he should be in jail. And this whole administration is corrupt. You have to understand. They are doing things. They'll tell you they're there for one thing, for one reason, and they are there for an entirely different reason. Number one, let's go back to the beginning. Why are they in Minnesota in the first place? Why are they? They're not in Florida. Most of your undocumented workers are in Florida and in Texas. They are not in Florida. They're not in Texas. They're targeting blue cities. Come on, let's wake up, everyone, and stop playing games here. There is a legal way to come into this country. I go to the border, I apply for asylum, and then I am assigned court cases. I go to court, and ICE is in the courtroom. Now, that should be illegal right there, because they're not giving me due process. I am commanded and demanded to go to court, and when I show up to court, I'm arrested? Come on, that's stupid. It makes no sense. Back to Renee Good. She was not aiming her car at that officer. I've seen many, many, many angles. I'm not talking about this news publication or that news publication. I have eyes and I can see. She was turning her wheel to the right. This fool, like you said, Mike, number one, if you're properly trained, you do not get in front or in the back of a car that's running. That's number one. Number two, he came all the way around the car, filming the car, okay, and then he came around and he was on the front left side of the car with his cell phone in his hand. She was turning her wheel to get away. Now he pulls out his gun. He shot once through the windshield, and the second two shots were through the side of the window. He is out of danger. Mike, even in your training, you're trained not to do that. You do not shoot inside of a moving vehicle, especially in a neighborhood when the other officers and pedestrians can be killed. She was not aiming her car at that man. Aiming your car means you're going straight at him. When you're turning your wheel to the right, come on, Mike. I'm not an investigator, but I got common sense. When you turn your wheel to the right, you are trying to get away. He was not run over. He was not hit. As a matter of fact, right after he killed her, we saw him walk up the street. Did you see him limping? Do you see him calling for a paramedic to come and pick him up? No.
I saw him limp immediately after she hit him. I saw him limp. And then he ended up in the hospital.
No. What he did, as a matter of fact, there's reports right now that he may have called the doctor because he wanted to cover himself legally. That's what it was.
Went to the hospital.
He may have, but okay. All right, I won't see the medical report. He was not
they said
limping.
he had internal bleeding.
Not right. If you saw, look, I saw clearly that when she turned the wheel, his leg moved out of the way. There's a lot of space between that car and his leg. She did not hit him. She did not.
She did hit him, and he went to the hospital.
She would have knocked him down. Right. A 4,000-pound vehicle, like you said, 4,000-pound weapon. If she had hit him, he would have fell.
She hit him with the side of her vehicle. He hit the side of her vehicle as she was moving forward. And again, he had perceived threat.
No. Number one, these guys aren't trained. They should be abolished. ICE should be abolished with what they're doing. Let's get back to one thing. And one thing we're missing. Why are they in Minnesota? Because the president claimed there was fraud in Minnesota. There was fraud, and he was after Somalis. He's targeting Somalis in Minnesota because they said they were involved in some type of fraud. Okay, then that's a civil case right there. And if it has criminal implications, then so be it. They had no business in Minnesota in the first place. Why aren't they in Texas? Why aren't they in Florida? Why aren't they in some of these red states? Mike, you know what it is. It's all political, and this clown is trying to cover up. Number one, if we pay attention to this, we won't get a chance to even talk about the Epstein files, will we? We won't even get a chance to talk about the illegal stuff he did down in Venezuela, the illegal stuff he did in Venezuela. You claim, and they claim, well, we're after the drugs. No, they were after the oil. And I've proven that over and over and over again. It has nothing to do with drugs. It's the oil. Now, he's taking the oil, and now the proceeds from the oil, he's got it in a bank in Qatar. Whoa. You've stolen the oil from Venezuela. Okay, you've cashed a check. Now you got a bank account over in Qatar somewhere. If that's the United States money, then why not give it to the department that handles the money? Okay, why not? You're gonna have it in a bank in Qatar? Well, guess who can write a check on that a bank in Qatar? Trump. I guarantee you he can do that. Okay, why do that? That has to be illegal. He's doing so much illegal crap, and you guys are covering up for it. I will not buy that offer. I
highly suspect what you just said to be inaccurate.
I'm not finished. I am very accurate.
Just commenting.
I've studied this over and over and over and over and over again. I've gone to main news. I've gone to independent news. I've seen angles from everywhere. Number one, that clown was not hit. And Mike, even if your own training,
yes, he was,
told you, once you are out of danger, you do not shoot that so-called or alleged criminal, do you? You don't shoot him or her.
Depends on circumstance.
Your own training will tell you that. I'll guarantee
it depends
because
on
you said something a couple of weeks ago. No, you don't. If that person, if you're not in danger, then you do not shoot into a moving vehicle.
That's not true.
That is true. You do
I
not
can explain if you want to take a breath. If you want to take a breath, I can explain.
I'll take a breath in a minute. You do not shoot into a moving vehicle. I've heard expert after expert after expert to say you don't do that. Number one, you do not get in front of a moving vehicle. That's number one. Number two, once you're out of danger, you do not shoot into that vehicle. You don't shoot that because you could have killed other people. You could have killed one of your own officers. You don't do that. That was murder, and you know it. Now, sir, the floor is yours.
Moving vehicles are shot into all the time by law enforcement. People that are moving away from an officer get shot all the time because the circumstances are different, and you have to perceive not just a threat on yourself, but the threat on others. And I give you a prime example. Back when you were living here in San Bernardino, this goes back to, I think, 1995, if I'm correct. There was a person that was going around that was known to all of the law enforcement in this area, the Inland Empire, which is Riverside and San Bernardino County. He was going around doing what we call stop and robs, which is your Circle K, your convenience store that's on the corner. And he was robbing these stores, and he was hurting people. He wasn't just robbing them, he was hurting people. In fact, he might have actually attempted to murder one of them at one point. So he was a known bad guy that everyone in law enforcement was looking for in the Inland Empire. So he gets into, he robs a place in Colton area, which is next to San Bernardino. And a pursuit happens where one of our deputies ends up, he's a 7-year deputy, ends up pursuing this guy who's a stop and rob and has hurt people. And he's pursuing him in the late afternoon, 4 o'clock-ish to be exact. The pursuit ends in a project area of San Bernardino, which is a large apartment complex. It's 100 apartments in one place, and they've got a quad area. And leading up to the quad area is a bunch of steps. So this is late afternoon, right after school gets out. In that quad area are moms and kids that are playing. This gentleman gets pursued to that complex, to the bottom of the stairs. He stops his car and he runs. Our deputy gets out and shoots him in the back with a double-aught buck shotgun, shoots him in the back. Everybody went nuts. The rules of the Old West, you can't shoot somebody in the back, and that's improper, and he was no longer a threat to the officer. However, what they failed to see is what that officer knew in his head. He knew all those kids and moms are up there, and a hostage situation was imminent. He dropped this guy appropriately. Sheriff Floyd Tidwell was the sheriff of this county at the time. He got on TV that evening and said, my deputy did the right thing. A probable hostage situation was imminent, and we weren't going to allow those kids and moms to be threatened. And this guy was known to us. He wasn't just some random person that ran from the popo. He was a bad person. They had a complete description. They had the car. They knew it was the right guy, and they dropped him. So don't tell me you can't drop somebody that's no longer a threat to you. It's perceived threat of yourself and those around you. So that's number one.
Well, that guy was a criminal. Well, you said the guy was a criminal,
yeah.
right?
Yeah. So
okay.
And so was she.
Now,
so was she. So was she. She refused to get out of the car. She refused to stop the car. She was a criminal too. Now, the other one I'll show you is they had a robbery occur in Vegas. And the car was filled with four gentlemen that were leaving, 4 criminals that were leaving, coming into California in their car. They refused to stop. They notified us he was coming into our state. Our helicopter got out in front of them. When they came into our state, they were told to stop the car now. They refused to stop the car. They waved at the helicopter thinking nothing would happen. They opened fire and machine gunned the top of the motor compartment of that vehicle, disabling it. So they shot at that moving vehicle, even though the helicopter was in no threat. So don't tell me you can't shoot at a vehicle. Don't tell me you can't shoot somebody to stop a perceived threat of somebody beyond yourself. So there's 2 good examples. You can look them up. I'm sure you can find them both on the web. And if you looked at other law enforcement agencies, you'll find the same thing. You can shoot in a moving vehicle, and you can shoot to stop imminent threat upon somebody else besides yourself.
That's not the same thing that's going on in Minnesota. You're talking apples and oranges. You're talking about known criminals. Yes, you are known dangerous criminals. Rene Good was not a known criminal. Okay, the gentleman that was killed yesterday was not a criminal. He was not a criminal. As a matter of fact,
did he comply?
We're going to get to this one right now.
Did he
But I'm gonna
comply
get
with
back
the
to something
officer's
else.
orders?
Something.
Did he comply with the officer's orders? See, the same thing here with Renee
Yes, he
Good.
did. He was
If she
backing
would
up.
have, if
He was
she
backing
would
up.
have
He was backing
complied,
up.
she'd
He
be.
was
If
backing
she
up
would have
with his cell
complied,
phone.
if she would have complied, she'd be alive. If he would have complied, he'd be alive. So their death, their loss of their life is on their heads because they refused to comply with lawful orders. So we're done. We're done. If you comply, you don't get dead. If you comply, you don't get dead.
No. She was not a criminal, and because you don't stop, because these Keystone cops tell you to stop. Because number one, most of them, you know how much training they get these days? 47 days. Okay.
How do you know?
Instead
how do you know how trained they are?
They reported. This come out of their own mouth, Mike. 47 days. They have lowered the requirements right now because they're trying to get more officers on the street. Okay. And a lot of these guys are criminals themselves. They are rapists. Okay. They have committed
You
many
can't
horrific
put badges
crimes.
and guns on rapists.
I'm talking about the ICE officers that you are protecting right now and defending right now. A lot of them are they're criminals.
Stop.
I have a video somewhere I can show it to you. No. See, I don't know where you're getting your information from.
Go ahead.
Mike. A lot
You
of
can't
these
give
guys
badges
are
and guns to criminals.
And do me a favor, look it up if you don't mind while I'm speaking. How many of these officers, ICE officers right now, that are criminals? And they're on the force right now. They're criminals.
Okay.
Sexual crimes. I'm talking about horrific crimes. These ICE officers that you defended right now, a lot of them are criminals. Okay. And I'm gonna get back to. I'm gonna switch gears a little bit. Then I'm gonna get back to Renee Good and this other gentleman that was assassinated yesterday. I'm gonna get back to the 5-year-old kid. As a police officer, you've got a father and you got a child. Okay. The father is say the father is a criminal or whatever it is. Okay. But all indications what he was not, and he was here illegally. But let's say the father did run. Instead of taking the child to Texas, why don't you hand him over to CPS? You're saying that, okay, well, you don't want to hand it over to somebody unless you prove that it's a parent.
Stay with him.
No, he did not. See, those are lies that you
said
believe.
Earlier that the father wanted the child to stay with him.
No. Why would he want to do that when there's already parents in the house, when the mother is in the house? And you said, well, she didn't open the door because she has other kids that she's trying to protect. She doesn't want to get arrested. The father is arrested and leave her kids abandoned like that. Why not turn that child over? There was a school board representative there. And why didn't you call CPS? Yes, CPS does count. You have
School
a child.
board representative doesn't count.
Hold it.
School board's
have
irrelevant.
A child right here. How about CPS?
That was probably an option.
How about CPS?
It's an option.
It is an option.
But the father demanded the child stay with him.
Mike, where you get that lie from?
reported it. When you showed the video and all, you reported the father demanded the child stay with him and told the mom not to come out of the house. I want the child to stay with me. So they complied.
That's what Homeland. No. That's what Homeland Security is saying. That's what Homeland Security is saying. And if you believe anything out of Homeland Security, brother, I feel sorry for you because these people lie and they lie over again. Christian Noam got on there, even talked about yesterday how this guy attacked police officers. He came there with a gun to murder police officers. He had a gun which he could legally carry. You believe in the Second Amendment, right? I know because you own many guns. That gun was in his holster. He never pulled it out. He did not approach the Homeland Security, the Border Patrol. They approached him. They pushed this woman down. These violent thugs pushed the woman down. He went over to help her. They end up bear spraying him and approaching him. He's holding his cell phone and he is backing up. He is backing up. They jump on him, tackle him. One takes the gun out of his holster and this other one shoots him. Now you going to tell me that's legal? There's nothing legal about that. And Do you have anything on these thugs and
The only thing I
what do you have,
see,
Ann?
only thing I see is something that's a Facebook post, and I don't deal with those types of
Okay.
things. So
All right. Well, we won't go there.
now I will say that I found this, and this is something that I brought up a little bit ago, but it's a Business Insider article, and it says U.S. closer to civil war than any of us would like to believe book, and it's written by Kelsey Vlamis, and this is dated June 22nd, and this was 2022, June 22nd, 2022. So imagine what they would think if they were here in January of, I'm sorry, I had to say January 2022, if they were here in January 2026. But anyway, Barbara F. Walter is a Civil War expert. She said the U.S. is closer to violent conflict than many think. Barbara F. Walter has spent more than 30 years studying civil wars around the globe, and according to her new book, the U.S. is a lot closer to one than most people think. Walter, a political scientist and professor at the University of California, San Diego, is one of the world's leading experts on civil wars. She's a member of the Political Instability Task Force, a group of analysts that study data to predict where volatility and violence is most likely to break out. In her new book, How Civil Wars Start and How to Stop Them, which came out this month, Walter outlines 3 factors researchers have identified that presage civil conflict and explains in detail the ways in which the U.S. exhibits those warning signs. This is a quote: civil wars ignite and escalate in ways that are predictable. They follow a script, Walter writes, adding that the same patterns have emerged in Bosnia, Ukraine, Iraq, Syria, Northern Ireland, and Israel. She said one of the best predictors of civil war is if a country is moving towards or away from democracy. If a country is an autocracy, a term used to refer to countries that are not fully democratic or fully autocratic, but somewhere in between, they are more likely than both full autocracies or democracies to experience violence. Today, the U.S. is an autocracy for the first time in more than 200 years, according to Walter, who cites the Polity Project, a nonprofit that measures how democratic or autocratic a country is. Walter said the country's recent slip on the democracy scale started with the 2016 election, which observers said was marred by politically driven rules and Russian interference. The U.S. slipped further on the scale during President Donald Trump's term when executive powers expanded and the president refused to cooperate with Congress's first impeachment inquiry, Walter said. And then it slipped again after the January 6th insurrection. Another warning sign Walter points to is factionalism, a specific kind of political polarization. Countries that factionalize have political parties based on ethnic, religious, or racial identity rather than ideology. And these parties then seek to rule at the exclusion and expense of others, she writes, adding that Trump especially catered to Americans along ethnic and religious lines with the focus on white evangelical Christians. Finally, Walter points to a phenomenon known as downgrading as another predictive measure. Downgrading refers to a dominant group's loss of status in society. She said researchers have found the trajectory of a group's political status was the most powerful determinant of violence. People were especially likely to fight if they had once held power and saw it slipping away, she writes.
And I'm sorry, can you go back and reread like the last paragraph?
The one that says, finally, Walter points to a phenomenon known as downgrading.
Yeah, I think that's the one. I misheard it, I think. But go ahead, please. And sorry for the interruption.
No problem. Finally, Walter points to a phenomenon known as downgrading as another predictive measure. Downgrading refers to a dominant group's loss of status in society. She said researchers have found the trajectory of a group's political status was the most powerful determinant of violence. Is that the one you wanted?
Yes, please, and thank you.
You're welcome. People were especially likely to fight if they had once held power and saw it slipping away, she writes. Walter said downgrading can apply to all kinds of groups, rich or poor, Christian or Muslim, white or black. But the key is that the group feels a status reversal, not just a political defeat. She cites racial resentment among whites who believe Black Americans or other minority groups are now getting unfair special treatment. She also points to Trump's focus on the grievances of working class white people and his attempts to appeal specifically to those who feel they have lost something, as evidenced by his slogan, "Make America Great Again." Where is the United States today? We are a factionalized autocracy that is quickly approaching the open insurrection stage, which means we are closer to civil war than any of us would like to believe, Walter concludes. Walter explains that a civil war today might look different than in the past. She points to specific examples of violence like the extremist plot to kidnap Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer and the insurrection at the Capitol as indicators that at least some groups are already willing to move towards violence. Now, that's just one article with one expert. I'm trying to find the one that I read last week that was more recent, where they actually have been running simulations about what could kick off a civil war like now today. And since they ran those simulations, we've had the almost exact conditions happen in Minneapolis, almost the exact conditions. And that's the article that I was looking for. But
right,
the fact that it's evident to somebody like me who is not in any way a person who does what this woman, Miss Walters, does for a living, and to so many other people who are lay people, is a huge red flag that we need to do something, folks. We are trending in the wrong direction. And I don't care.
Absolutely.
I don't care if you are,
I agree.
a white person who thinks Black people and immigrants or Jews or whatever are taking everything away from you. The question is, do you love this place enough to see it thrive, or are you willing to give up everything America is and ever has stood for just so maybe you could get by? Maybe. Or are you, or you're just willing to even settle for the consolation prize of at least I'm white and the rich people can do whatever they want to do to trample on democracy and destroy what this country used to be, just so long as at the end of the day all the brown people are the ones who get hurt, all the Jews are the ones who get hurt. I mean, I don't understand those who are so willing to go against their own self-interest in favor of people who really don't care anything about you and never have and never will. You are basically pawns that they move to the front lines of the and sacrifices infantry. But you're okay with that because at the end of the day you're white. It just boggles my mind. But anyway, I'm done.
Okay. Well, I tell you, it boggles mine also because, like I said, if you really look at what's going on right now, this administration lies about every single thing. They lie about everything. There's, and you look at this because they'll tell you, well, we're doing this for this reason, but the other reason, they're doing it for another entirely different reason. Like I said, I keep going back to Venezuela. Fentanyl didn't come from Venezuela. Okay, you got a lot of countries, and if you're so concerned about drugs coming from Venezuela, why did he pardon a major drug trafficker who was a former president of Honduras, who smuggled over 400 tons of cocaine into the United States because somebody told you that he was illegally or he was wrongly convicted? That's bull. You don't convict somebody on that.
What if he was wrongly convicted? Did you ever think
What
about
if he
that?
was? But the point is, he was convicted by a United States federal court.
So it's okay even if it's wrong.
How do you know? When you keep coming to, well, what about this? What about that? He
I'm
was
just
convicted
asking
to
questions.
45 years. 45 years. So you don't trust the courts? Is that what you're saying? Okay.
I don't
Is that what
trust.
you're
I
saying?
don't trust
The point is,
what I'm saying is I don't trust the witnesses that testified against him because they all have motive
how
and they
you
were
know,
all
you don't
dirty.
even know the witnesses.
Well,
You
at
don't,
least I
Mike,
looked at it. You don't even bother to
guess
look
what?
at it.
I've been looking at it. The point is, they had to have the evidence. 400 tons. It's kind of hard to hide 400 tons of cocaine. Let's put it like that. 400 tons of cocaine.
Well,
And you go pardon
I
the man
admit that
because
the cocaine
somebody
exists.
hold on.
It exists, but who's under whose control?
Now, whose control?
Yeah,
400 tons.
I admit that
United
the cocaine exists, but I'm saying whose control was it under? And was it actually under this gentleman's control? Or did lying criminals say, oh, yeah, it's him. It's him. Look over there.
And as a judge, you cannot get a conviction like of that magnitude that easily without evidence. 45 years, they had to have something on him. You have to have the FBI involved with that. You may have had the CIA involved with that. You have to have local officials involved with that. He had to have some evidence. And and then Trump says, well, he heard someone told him that the man was wrongfully convicted. Who told him? He's always coming with, well, I heard this from this person. Somebody told me, or they said. He never tell you who. He never said, John Doe over there told me. Okay, I know John Doe to be a dignified and qualified prosecutor. And there's evidence that says that this man did not do that. And I'm telling you something, anybody with that type of clout, you better believe they've got the best lawyers that they can find. And if their lawyers couldn't get him off, okay, and a federal judge convicted this man, they had something on him. 400 tons, like I said, you can't hide 400 tons. Why? And you so against drugs coming to the United States, then why pardon the man? Why pardon the man? Now, we already know Trump is not a judge, okay? The guy can't even spell. He doesn't even know what the hell's going on. Okay, you can see him right now, cognitive decline, dementia, and meanness. And you guys are still buying this crap. He tells you that everything is hunky-dory in the United States. No, ask the farmers. Why did he have to bail out the farmers again? Okay, twice. 2 administrations, he got to bail out the farmers if the economy was doing so well. How about the ranchers? He gets $40 million, $40 billion. It wasn't Brazil. Who was that he gave $40 billion to? Argentina. Why give our money to Argentina? Taxpayer dollars to Argentina, and you snuff out your own cattle ranchers. Why? It makes no sense. It makes no sense at all. No, you guys keep buying this crap, but I tell you what, I think there's going to be a change here. There's got to be a change because he has made everything worse since he took over the president. I would rather have Sleepy Joe Biden right now. We didn't have this crap going on. As a matter of fact, you said, well, oh, inflation. Well, inflation is, when he took over, inflation was right at 3%. Guess what inflation is right now? 3%. And climbing.
No,
I think it was like
3.9. It was 3.9, and recently it's been 3.3.
No, it was 3%.
There you go, getting
it was
bad
3%
information again. It was 3.9.
No, well, you get bad information.
And it was up as high as
3%.
And it was high as 9% during the middle of Biden's.
Yeah, and congratulations, he brought it all the way down to 3.
Got it down to 3.9, and then now it's 3.3. So get your facts straight.
I don't know where you get your information from, but guess what?
CNN.
You could be dead wrong about that. The information that I have, that it came down to 3%.
Thank you, Ann.
Okay. Well, guess what? And it's going back up. And then he threatened, and guess what? And then he almost crashed the stock market the other day by talking about he going to slap 25% tariffs on anybody that wants to do business with who? Who was that? Well, Canada or something like that. But anyway,
I thought it was
walked that
Greenland,
back.
but okay. I'm sorry, I thought it was Greenland.
Oh, he
He was
wants to take
upset.
over.
It was because they weren't agreeing with him on taking over Greenland.
Taking it over, right?
And taking over Greenland. How idiotic is that? We're
William,
just gonna go around taking place.
You have to understand that
We're gonna take over.
Greenland
That is
is
stupid.
like Venezuela. Greenland is like Mexico. People, the face that you see of Greenland are like the folks from Denmark who that's one of their colonies. Like we have colonies, like Puerto Rico is our colony. But the people, the indigenous people of Greenland look like the Eskimos look. They look like Native Americans because that's who owns that land. They are brown people, and it's largely unpopulated. There are lots of resources there that have been untapped.
Yep.
And even though we have an agreement with them and have had an agreement with them, and pretty much everybody in Europe and anybody else who welcomes us in, we have military bases there. We can protect Greenland however we want to protect Greenland. They don't care because they trusted us, at least up until this point they did. So there was no issue if the United States said, look, we're concerned about China, we're concerned about Russia, we want to protect you guys adding more troops. They probably would have gone along with it. More than likely, if they did object, they probably would have given in to it more than likely because it's the United States. They're our friends. They want to protect us. Blah, blah, blah. The same stuff they've always been doing. There's no reason for us to take Greenland, just like there's no reason for us to take Canada. There's no reason for us to take Venezuela. There's no reason for us to be threatening anybody, Cuba, Iran, none of those folks. Before I forget,
Panama.
Yeah, all those. Before I forget, I did find the other article that I was talking about. It's in a publication called Futurism. And it's it says simulation found civil war could be triggered by exactly what ICE is doing right now. And it's written by, looks like Joe Wilkins, and it was published on January 22nd, 2026. So it's 4 years to the day, pretty much, from the last article that I read to you that was about the potential for civil war in America. So starts out, what's the most surefire way to achieve Civil War 2.0 in the United States? According to one wild simulation, it's exactly what's happening right now in Minneapolis. In October 2024, researchers at the Center for Ethics and the Rule of Law, also known as CERL, at the University of Pennsylvania, conducted an experiment in which a president ordered a widely condemned federal law enforcement operation in the city of brotherly love. To carry out the operation, the simulated president tried to federalize the Pennsylvania National Guard, which the governor resisted. National Guard troops who sided with the state followed suit, prompting the fictional president to order acting U.S. military troops to march on Philly. According to CERL director Claire Farkenstein, I think that's how she pronounces it, breakdown of the simulation newly published in The Guardian, the experiment culminated in a violent confrontation between state and federal forces in a major U.S. metropolis. Finkelstein notes that the wargaming exercise included actual government officials and former senior military leaders, none of whom considered the scenario unrealistic. The results were based off the assumption that during a rapidly evolving civil emergency like this, courts would be largely ineffective at stopping federal overreach. Though the early stages of the Philadelphia simulation closely match the brutal events citizens in Minneapolis have experienced at the hands of U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement agents, the model diverges from reality in one key way. Municipal and state officials don't seem interested in attacking ICE agents anytime soon. Though things definitely look hairy in Minnesota, a significant gulf remains between non-cooperation and armed resistance from municipal and state service members. Under a 2025 municipal ordinance, for example, Minneapolis police police are prohibited from cooperating with ICE agents, though they're also not authorized to interfere in federal enforcement activities. Minnesota Governor Tim Walz has likewise urged protesters not to engage in acts of civil disobedience as he moved to mobilize the Minnesota National Guard. Though some saw the move as a preparation to forcibly expel ICE from Minneapolis, there's no evidence that this was ever the case, as a National Guard official told one local news channel. If state troops do get deployed to Minneapolis, it'll be to direct traffic, keep protests peaceful, and protect private property. All in all, the prospect of official resistance currently remains the stuff of simulations. In reality, state power remains pointed in the same place since the start of the ICE crackdown, at protesters, not at the federal agents brutalizing their communities. Anyway, that was the article that I read last week, and I wanted to make sure that you guys got to hear that side of it too. Williams got to say a lot. So Mike, and I just read a couple of articles. So Mike, give us your take.
I'd like to comment on both the articles. Was it Miss Warren was the other one that was talking about civil war being imminent? I would like to.
Go ahead.
I think the other article you read was Miss Warren, and the one you just read right now. But I'd like to
Walter,
agree.
I think was her name. Barbara
Was it Walters? Walter. Okay.
Barbara Walter, something like that.
I actually agree that we are closer to civil war than ever. But I would maybe differ a little bit with the circumstances that are pushing it that direction, because I believe, based on what I've seen recently in the last 5 years or 8 years, I believe that both our left and right political entities are both in fear of losing their standing or their position of power. And again, I like to look at things from what I believe to be a fair perspective, in that I don't care for the left or the right. I tend to be probably more conservative than I am liberal, but I see everybody posturing to be in control and to win at all costs, And I'm applying this to both sides. When you have elections that are won by such thin margins, and when you have such confrontation going on in our Congress with the Senate and the House, when you see such heated arguments occurring constantly, not just a hit or a miss, but all the time, I think they're right that we are going towards a civil war of some sorts. Now, it could be a big blow up or it could be a small blow up, but you cannot continue to have two entities. You can't have two brick walls bashing each other. At some point, a brick wall is going to crumble, because it can only take so many hits.
I agree.
And what I see is two brick walls that are uncompromising, that don't wish to listen to the other side, that want to win at any cost. And again, I'm talking about both sides here, because I like to be fair. And I think this is a disaster in the making, in that the American people are going to suffer from this, because we want our government to run things efficiently, nicely, politely, in favor of the American people that just want to live. As someone, I forget if it was you or William mentioned earlier, they just want to raise their family. They want to go to work. They want to have fun with their family. They want to raise their kids. They just want to be left alone in peace. But they're not being allowed to do that, because you got a mom and pop government that are beating each other up over things they probably could agree on, but they can't let the other side win, regardless again of the other side. It's a matter. Winning becomes more important than success for the American people. And when winning becomes more of a argument and more prevalent than taking care of the American people, that's disaster in the making, as far as I'm concerned. And when our leaders fail to lead, and they fail to keep in sight what they were elected to do, yeah, that's a problem. That's a big problem. And I don't see our government coming together. I see them battling. I see them digging in more strongly, and I see the brick walls collashing more and more. and it hasn't gotten better in the last 5 to 8 years, as far as I can see. What do you think, Ann?
I agree that it looks more and more like we're barreling towards a flashpoint. Like many people who, and I've finally chosen a side. I used to say I'm independent, but I can't. I can't say I'm independent anymore because at this point I'm like, there's a line in the sand, and I had to choose one side or the other, so I chose Democrat. But I think, like a lot of people who vote Democrat, I don't feel like they're doing enough. I don't feel like I think they are still attempting to abide by rules that have been broken over and over and over again, which has gotten us to where we are. So I think the flashpoint is going to come from the people, which is why you see so many people, in the streets protesting, which is why you see when so many people organizing to lay on their horns and blow their whistles when ICE comes around. You've seen it in California, you've seen it in Minneapolis, probably going to see it in Maine, because now they're threatening to send ICE to Portland, Maine, to conduct raids there. Now I thought Minnesota was white. I know Maine is like lily white. I just can't imagine who all they're going to deport from Maine. But okay, at any rate, I think the people who are most likely to rise up against the the Republican the Republican side are the people. Because I don't, the Democrats just don't seem to wield the power that they've been given as effectively as we would like for them to. I would have liked to have seen more happen during the Biden administration to prevent us from getting to this point. Um, I still think he was a great president, but I wanted more, and I know that it's not all his fault. William can tell you. I don't know if you were here at when we had the last election, but everybody was happy that President Biden won. I was happy, but I could see the writing on the wall that they couldn't. In order for things to really change, you were going to need both a considerable margin in the House as well as the Senate for the Democrats to have a majority, so things could really get done. Having a president as a figurehead in this particular time that we're in is dangerous, and we see the outcome of that. We were in a very dangerous, precarious spot where things could have gotten better, but they didn't. Instead, what we had was him being unable to shore up the shortfalls in our democracy as much as we needed it, and now we've got basically the democracy crumbling, and you're putting people in a in a fight or flight circumstance. We are either going to go backwards, which you know Trump and Lex Luthor are barreling towards a breakneck speed, and all their minions with them, or by some miracle, God will be merciful again and give us grace again. Like, okay, I'm gonna give y'all one more time to get it right, but if you keep crying out for a king, I'm gonna give you one. And we're gonna get the evil king, and either we'll acquiesce, or we'll fight, or even worse, there may be us fighting one another, and the enemies out there take advantage of the fact that, oh, America's out of the game, and not civil war, but World War III breaks out while we're busy over here fighting against one another, because we are the biggest thing holding back places like China and Russia. So if we implode on ourselves, that is absolutely the time to take Taiwan. That is absolutely the time to take Ukraine. That is absolutely the time to run roughshod right over Europe, because the big hero of the story is no more. And they would have managed to Russia would have managed to truly pull off the greatest espionage feat from its 2016 destabilization efforts and toppling the greatest empire, well, the greatest country, superpower on the planet, and turning it into Aleppo. Can you imagine America looking like Syria did when they had their civil war? It's a scary proposition, but if America falls, the rest of the world does too, which is why I don't know if you guys, pay attention to publications from other parts of the world or publications here that report about what's going on in other parts of the world. It is not just Americans who are afraid and who are, wanting to fight back. All over the world, people are terrified because number one, you've got America acting like North Korea, like China, like Russia, and the greatest superpower in the world turns from benevolent friend to evil, imperialistic state trying to take over everybody that's smaller. That is terrifying. Number one. The next thing that's terrifying about it is the fact that they recognize what most of us don't. This is putting us a whole lot closer to World War III than we would care to admit, because you've got the rest of NATO who's going to probably pull together in case of an attack. But will they be able to withstand Russia? Will they be able to withstand China? Who knows? The ace in the hole has always been for everybody who was a friend of ours, us, and we're no longer a friend of ourselves, let alone them. So I think civil war is likely, but I think World War III is just as likely. And it's a really scary place to be in, where we are right now.
And we shouldn't be. We need a leader. And
it's our own fault. It's our own fault.
It is, for voting the clown in, because it is a shame. He's trying to get out of being from the G7, NATO, which is horrible to think about. The Canadian Prime Minister just came out yesterday about this, abandoning our closest ally, which is Canada. It makes no sense at all. And if you guys don't see this, and he ran on no new wars, and he's out there starting wars. It makes no sense at all. He's acquiescing to Russia. Why?
Been doing that since
Ukraine.
2016.
He's given up on Ukraine. He wants Russia to win that. This is crazy, folks. And you don't see what's going on. I'm serious. I mean, and again, what we're forgetting about is a thing that's in the Constitution, the Emoluments Clause. A president is not supposed to profit while he's in the White House. He's not supposed. That's against the law. Now, you law-abiding, so-called law-abiding people out there, you should stand up to that. It's a law. He's breaking the law. And abandoning NATO, and I don't understand it. Makes no sense at all. It seems like what he's trying to do is form an alliance with Russia, North Korea, maybe, I don't know whether China is playing the United States, as a matter of fact, because they are partnered up with Canada. They are partnered up with Canada. Folks, it makes no sense. I'm going to go to this last clip because we're running out of time. And let's do this, because I want to go back. Let's go back to Minnesota. And we're going to talk about this.
Down on the reckless violence, you are only proving our point. The breaking news is another person has been fatally shot by undertrained, reckless ICE agents in Minneapolis, Minnesota, in what the Trump administration calls a routine enforcement operation, but what everybody else in Minneapolis calls an occupation. They are occupying the city with federal forces who are undertrained, who are overly aggressive and who are emboldened with masks and the budget of most national militaries. I want to show you the video footage coming out of Minneapolis, Minnesota, just moments ago of yet another shooting where yet another U.S. citizen is killed using disproportionate force. YouTube will likely take down this video or nuke this video if I show you this in its entirety. So I'm going to show you what I can, and I'm going to lay out all of the facts that we have thus far. First of all, it's another scenario where 10 to 15 ICE agents are needed to take down one U.S. citizen, and it still ends with disproportionate lethal force. Even after these ICE agents shoot the guy once and he's laying there, not moving whatsoever, they continue to essentially dump bullets into him as he's on the verge of death. Sorry, excuse my language, but they are dumping bullets into a guy who is not moving. It's similar to the autopsy report of Renee Nicole Good, which showed that she would have survived the first two bullets, likely. It's the third bullet that was truly, uniquely lethal, meaning this ICE agent was so undertrained, he continued to fire and cause an unnecessary death of Renee Nicole Good, which we already knew, but the autopsy further confirmed. This seems to be the same exact scenario. We got reporting from Minnesota Governor Tim Walz that there was another shooting. Then moments ago, the Minneapolis police chief confirmed that the man shot by federal agents has died. If you thought the protests yesterday were massive, if you thought the amount of people protesting in negative 15 degrees in Minneapolis was stunning, wait until the next round of protests, because ICE is not getting any better. ICE is very, very clearly getting worse. Aaron Rupar, a friend of the show who helps us with clip distribution, is really a great warrior for the ecosystem, for truth. He lives in Minneapolis, Minnesota. He's been struggling on the ground with this because he has a family in Minneapolis, Minnesota. He just posted some raw thoughts. He said, all of this is fucking senseless. Minnesota did not have an immigration problem. Trump sent his Nazi thugs here because he's racist against Somali people and to own libs like Tim Walz. Now 2 Minnesotans are dead, and Minneapolis is on the verge of going up in flames. None of this was necessary. Very well said. Even beyond the 2 Minnesotans that are dead, so many people have been injured irreparably. Some people have had their eyes shot out, their ribs broken, their arms cracked, pepper spray ruining their vision and their ability to breathe over and over. I want to show you that this has been very predictable. ICE agents in Minneapolis, Minnesota pointed a gun, this is a separate scenario a few weeks ago, pointed a gun at a random protester's face. I don't know who's behind this mask and this beanie, but this is either an old woman who's out there just exercising her First Amendment right and now has a gun in her face, or maybe a young college student who put on a vest. Either way, this is a citizen peacefully protesting with a gun in their face. It is no surprise when more reckless murders happen. I'm going to play for you this clip. Now, it's important to point out the DHS and officials claim they found a gun on the scene. The investigation still needs to play out, but even if they found a gun on the scene, I still see disproportionate force being used in this video with the amount of gunshots that are rung out, with the amount of force that is being used. Take a look.
And they keep pushing people, you know?
Look closely.
If a donation makes sense for you right now, I'm asking you to pitch in to the Democratic Party's Fight Fund.
So they have the guy on the ground. I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. They have the guy on the ground. 7 people are around. More people jump in.
Oh shit! What the fuck? They killed him? Did they fucking kill that guy?
That was an excessive use of force against a motionless body. I don't care if they try to argue that the initial shots were justified because the guy was struggling. You cannot dump 5 bullets into a motionless body and say that that was proportionate force. It is so clear that these are undertrained agents that are not ideologically screened. I mean, as a side note, we saw an article 2 weeks ago from Slate where a journalist applied for ICE despite having a long history of making public posts against ICE, despite smoking weed that week and posting online that they smoke weed. They didn't submit any sort of criminal record or domestic battery record. They didn't submit any of that. And ICE still said they passed the drug tests and were accepted. That means you can join ICE despite having a domestic battery past, despite being ideologically radicalized towards one direction, very likely the right. So just take that to its natural conclusion. We see all of these videos of undertrained ICE agents and we wonder, who are these people? Are these just random right-wingers they plucked off of the couch and didn't vet? Yes, quite literally, yes. They are just finding random people because they are so desperate for agents. I mean, nobody wants to go out there and get screamed at, have whistles blown in your face, and be the bad guy, because they know, these ICE agents know, that they are the bad guy. The only way to subvert that is find somebody who's so far right, they're okay with being the bad guy because they think the bad guy is necessary, even though the bad guy is detaining 5-year-olds, shooting U.S. citizens in multiple occasions. I mean, the reaction from the bystanders is wild.
Are you kidding me, dude? Not again. Are you fucking kidding me? That guy's dead. Yo, we need people on.
I mean, the rage coming from people in Minneapolis is so incredibly clear. Pearl Rose says, no mainstream media is telling you folks how bad it really is in Minneapolis. It feels like you guys think it's hyperbole, but no one I know is living in a normal way. Normal life has stopped and everyone is afraid all of the time. Not a little on edge, but deeply sad and afraid. The sad part is this post was made 2 days before ICE agents murdered yet another person. Imagine the city that you live in. I mean, some of you live in Minneapolis, so you don't have to imagine, but imagine your city being so occupied that you can't drive to work. You can't drop your kids off at school. You can't do anything. I live in Chicago, and yes, I saw agents when they were here, but it was different. It was not like what's happening in Minnesota in size, scope, and scale. Just to be real, what's happening here is Donald Trump is using Minneapolis as a testing ground. He wants to hyper-militarize blue cities across the country, but it's hard to start off with a New York or a Chicago. So he realized that Minneapolis would be a perfect testing ground after Nick Shirley released his BS video about quote-unquote Somali fraud that had actually already been prosecuted. So Trump then surged troops into Minneapolis, and that led to Renee Nicole Good's murder, which was not a bug. That was not a mistake from the Trump administration. That was part of the plan. Donald Trump knew that people would resist, that people would peacefully protest and push back, and he wanted to use that as a pretext to further escalate, the same way he will when the protests grow even bigger, the same way he will when he realizes he is absolutely effed in the midterms and the only way to win is to cheat. These protests yesterday in Minneapolis, Minnesota were objectively massive, even larger when you realize that this was negative 10 degrees throughout the day. But think about the protests they're going to spark from this second murder, from the subsequent cover-up, and from Donald Trump's doubling down of the hyper-militarization of beautiful blue cities. And no one's even saying the cities are perfect or that there aren't problems that can be fixed. I guarantee every single protester on the ground here can acknowledge that cities have problems. Oftentimes a byproduct of high population density, you have to have unique solutions to unique problems. Even Chicago, there's a lot of history of corruption in Chicago, but that needs to be weeded out via democracy, not through force, or through military occupation, or through troops that don't even have any relation to the city that are coming from out of state, in the same way that any problems in Minneapolis need to be solved through democracy, through what we see on the ground. So continue to have your voice heard. Rest in peace to the 51-year-old man who was shot. I love you all. I'll see you in the next video.
All right. Okay. All right, let's get back. So
that was a lot of people. I hadn't. Wow, all those people are out there in that in those temperatures. Wow, that's a lot of folks, and it's dangerous weather.
Protesting,
yeah,
and they're peacefully protesting. Now, there is another clip. We don't have time to show that, but it shows the time when this gentleman was in the middle of the street.
Well, they're peacefully protesting. They're peacefully protesting. Are you not watching the same video that I'm watching?
Yeah.
What did they?
They're not all peacefully protesting. You're not watching all the videos because they're rioting. They're not peacefully assembling.
No,
you're not watching all the videos.
A riot was January the 6th, 2021, when they stormed the Capitol. Okay, you don't bring that up.
Thanks for the old news, William. That's really helpful.
Oh yeah, it's very helpful. But I want you to show the difference between a protest and a riot. They're not out there rioting. You didn't see anyone.
They're not out there peacefully protesting either. Stop, William. Stop. They're not peacefully. Some are. Some are, but a lot of them are not. Was Renee Good peacefully protesting? Was Renee Good peacefully protesting?
Yes, she was.
The hell she was. She tried to run over somebody.
Riding?
Did she comply?
Tried to run over the man. She was trying to get away.
Did she comply? No, she's dead because she didn't comply, and so's the other guy.
Two different things.
If the guy would have complied, he'd still be alive. Would he not? If he would have complied, he would still be alive, right? Right?
That is no. Wrong. He was compliant. He was backing up with his cell phone.
That's why he had 15 guys on top of him, because he was complying. Sure, he was.
No. Well, you didn't see.
Just like Renee Good got out of the car when she was told to.
She did not. Well, guess what? That is not, like Ann said, that does not lead to a death sentence.
Well, when you take a 4,000-pound car and moves it towards a law enforcement officer, now it does.
He wasn't, and that's not true.
Yes,
that is not true. She was
I watched
away.
it too.
This clown got in front of the car. You admitted that is not the way he was supposed to train.
I wouldn't have been there.
He should not have gotten in front of that car.
I agree.
He should not have gotten in front of the car, and she did not hit him.
And she shouldn't have put it in drive and moved towards him.
She did not move towards him.
If she would have complied, she'd be alive.
We don't know that either.
If she'd gotten out of the car, this would have never happened. It would have never happened.
Don't know that.
What? I don't get what's in your head. If she would have complied and never put the car in drive and moved towards that officer, she would be alive. Admit it. Why do you have such a tough time with that?
Mike, I'm not going to admit anything I don't believe. What I'm saying is she was trying to get away. If she was trying to hit him, she would have drove directly at him, not turning to the right.
She shouldn't have gone forward.
Guess what? The clown shouldn't have been in front of the car.
The officer doesn't have a crystal ball. He can't determine what's in her head. He has to make a split-second decision. He sees a 4,000-pound vehicle moving towards him with a whack job behind the wheel. What's he supposed to decide? He's got a split second. Does he get down on his knees and look at which ways the wheels are turned? Does he think there's a crazy lady behind the wheel that's not complying, that's already committed multiple felonies? Already committed felonies, and yet he's supposed to believe she's not going to try to hit him. Please, William, stop it.
No. You stop it, Mike. You're gaslighting right now because she was not driving towards him. You are.
That car moved towards that officer. The car moved towards that officer. Yes, it did. How did it hit him then?
I will give you this.
How did it hit him then?
The car. No, she did not hit him. She did not hit him.
That's why he went to the hospital and had internal bleeding.
No, Mike, come on.
The error must have caused damage.
The only internal bleeding with that clown was in his brain because he's stupid. William. He should not have been in front of that car. The thing about it,
I'm the one that pointed it out. I pointed out the first thing I said was he should have never been in front or behind that car.
But great, okay, all right. Now, what you won't admit is that she turned her wheel to the right to get away. As a matter of fact, okay,
know that? How did the officer know that?
He's standing right in front of the car. He couldn't see
that. Can he see the wheels on the ground when he's standing? Can he see the wheels on the ground when he's standing in front of the vehicle? He can see the hood. He can see the hood, and he can see the crazy lady behind the wheel. That's what he's focused on. He's not focused on, let me look at the wheels. I got to go down here and look at the wheels. No, he's not.
No.
Stop it. That's not reasonable. It's not doable.
He can tell that the car is moving away from him. He can tell that.
He can tell it's moving towards him.
He can tell that. Hold it. I'll tell you what. Let's say he fired the first shot into the windshield. Okay. Now, the second and third shot, he was clearly on the side of the car. There was no need for the second and third bullet.
In your perception.
No. There's no way. No. Okay. Let's say I give you the first one. Okay, which I don't buy anyway, but I'm gonna give you that one. When he shot through the windshield. The second and third shot, you saw it, everybody, the world saw, he's standing on the side of the car, yet he continued to shoot into that car. That's a crime.
No.
That is a crime.
No.
Yes, it is a crime.
Can I explain?
Mike,
will you allow me to explain? At least allow me to explain if you're going to disagree with me. He should not have been.
Go on.
That's fine. But you didn't know what's in that officer's head, and it's perceived. He didn't know what other officers were standing in front of that vehicle. He already knew that she committed felonies. He already knew that she moved a 4,000-pound vehicle toward him, regardless of where her wheels were turning, and he didn't know what other officers were on the other side there. So he continued to fire to eliminate the risk factor of her hitting somebody else.
There was nobody else in front of her but that clown.
He was focused
the video
on her.
clearly showed there was nobody else in front of her.
The Supreme Court has said he cannot be held to a perfect plan because it's a split-second decision regarding life or death. In this case, it was his life or death and those around him.
I hope the state charges him. Okay, screw the Supreme Court. We know how corrupt they are. We know that, and I'm gonna say it over and over again. I will not go along with what you're saying is that she was driving towards him. She was driving away from him. And like I said, when he fired that first shot, he was let me finish. He was definitely on the side of that car when he fired the second and third shot.
After he got hit, yeah.
The whole world saw that. Mike, you saw that.
The whole world saw if she would have complied. If she would have complied, she'd be alive today. The whole world saw that too. Why do you discount that?
He should have gotten out of the way.
So if she would have complied, she'd still be dead? If she would have complied, she'd still be dead. Is that what you're saying?
There's a good chance here in America. There's a good chance that will be the case.
Come on, Ann.
Yes, it is.
Other guy.
No.
Yep.
If she got out of the car, she would not be dead. That's absurd.
I'm sorry, Mike, but we can't agree with you there. It's way too many people who have complied with police officers, especially people who are brown, who have brown skin, who complied with police officers and still ended up dead. Way too many. You can't tell me when George Floyd is down on the ground with all those people around him, couldn't move, he's immobilized and somebody's on his neck. You can't say he wasn't complying at that point, but he's dead. He's dead to this
George
day.
Floyd's a whole different situation, and we can discuss that another time.
We're talking about,
and he should be alive too.
Well, we're talking about,
and the officers did stuff they shouldn't have done. In my opinion, I would have never handled it that way. So I'm agreeing with George Floyd. If this lady would have complied, she'd be alive.
If you look at the cumulative effect of what law enforcement has been doing, we'll just say the last 5 years. We'll just look at the last 5 years or so. From George Floyd to Ahmaud Arbery to Breonna Taylor to all these people minding their own, to a man sitting in his own apartment watching television being shot by another police officer because she's confused about the fact that this is her apartment and not his. Seriously? So no, we do not believe that complying with police officers, that living orderly life is a guarantee that you will not be shot and killed by a police officer, because we know better. And with that, y'all, it's 6:58. I think we need to start saying goodnight and wrapping things up. So I'm going to say thank you, everybody, for sticking with us. Please do tune in next week for the Eating as an Act of Worship Ministries radio show. We've got a great guest lined up for you. We're going to have Peter Ratcliffe. You guys know him. He's a fan favorite here at the Studio W Buzz Boomerang Show. He's going to be on Eating as an Act of Worship Ministries to kick off Black History Month. I believe it's very important for Black people and white people to stand in solidarity with one another for such a time as this. And so Peter Ratcliffe, he is a historian of African American studies, so he will be my special guest, so that you can see at least one group of Black and white people united together at this point in time in our history, as I hope and pray we all do hopefully before things get so bad that we fall off the cliff. Then of course you can come right back on Sunday for the Boomerang Radio Show. We are going to endeavor to be more cordial. We said we were going to do that for 2026. We're off to a rocky start, but we're going to do better next week. Right, everybody? All right. And then don't forget that you got to listen to Wild Will and Mad Mike for Coast to Coast on Thursday evening. So we got great shows lined up for you. Oh, and one more thing before I forget, the lady songbird, Jenda Harris. Yes, she is going to be here in Little Rock on February 15th. She's one of the headliners for a local DJ on Power 92, Broadway Joe. She's one of the local headliners for his birthday bash. So if you are in the Little Rock area, you do not want to miss it. It's going to be awesome. Now, y'all keep it holy because February 15th is a Sunday. So I don't know what all they're going to be doing at the birthday bash, but remember to keep it holy. And you have to get tickets for the events. The show that we have airs on a different radio station, so I can't hook you up with that. So go get your tickets. And don't forget to also listen to Soul to Soul by the songbird Jenda Harris right here on Studio W Buzz. What day does that come on, William? I don't remember the day that her
That's on
show is.
Thursdays. That's on Thursdays at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time,
Awesome.
5 p.m. Central. That's right. And
Awesome,
that's 3 p.m. On the West Coast with Mike. Yeah, check out
Right,
it's a great show. And tonight, come back. I've got new music. And Mike, you know these gentlemen, this gentleman here, K-Wise. We had K-Wise on our show. Remember K-Wise?
Yes, great artist,
along
yeah.
with man. Today is his mother's birthday, so we're going to have him on the show tonight.
Oh,
Yep.
happy birthday.
Yep. And so, guys, thank you so much for tuning into the Boomerang. And like Ann said, make sure you check out Mad Mike and Wild Will Coast to Coast. That's Thursday, each and every Thursday, 5:15 p.m. on the West Coast, 8:15 on the East. Guys, enjoy your Saturday. The music I'm going to play right now, this is by a friend of mine who I had on my last Tuesday show, Gerald Chavis. And let us know what you think about this music. He's a jazz artist. He played with people like the Temptations and, I mean, just so many headliners. So, and now this is his own music. Check it out.
All right, guys, we'll talk to you next week.
All right. Have a blessed week, everybody.